Hello, fellow quarantiners. I have made it outside.
Freedom!
So fresh, so new.
Freedom!
It's all for you.
All for you. Freedom!
I did put on my best outfit for you today. Hit you with a nice little Canadian tuxedo, because it's what makes me feel most safe. We'll hit you with a slow pan.
Freedom!
So fresh, so new.
Freedom!
It's all for you.
I'm here talking to you today about leading in the midst of anxiety. Now, it's not exactly an easy thing to do, but it's exactly what leaders are called to do. And it is the separator from people with a name or a title associated with leadership and the true leaders, is the ability to lead in anxious times. And there's no doubt right now in this world, it's highly anxious. It feels a little bit like a snow globe, right? Like somebody just took our world and just kind of shook it, and people are tumbling through it and wondering which way is up and looking for some kind of stability anywhere. You have people pillaging grocery stores for toilet paper and paper towels and food. I have a daughter who doesn't have formula, and we're driving around looking for formula to be able to feed my daughter, but it's sold out because so many people have bought it. And you have people buying hand sanitizer by the bulk to try and turn it around for a profit when there's people in need and people that are sick. You see the best and the worst of people in really anxious times. Now, what I wanted to encourage you to do today with this video is to serve as the non-anxious presence in an anxious system. Now, what I mean by systems, and you can look it up, is Murray Bowen is a psychiatrist, and he created the systems theory, where either you're talking about a family or you're talking about an organization. Probably in this instance, we're talking about an organization. And basically what he talks about is how the anxiety and the emotions and all of it are ultimately connected within that system. And when things like highly anxious times happen, it can really spread throughout that system and really have an impact on it. Now, it's your job as the leader, as I said, to serve as the non-anxious presence in that system. So when you walk into a room, people go, okay, that person has it together. That girl or that guy, or they have it together. Okay, I can now exhale a little bit. Because what people are feeling is they're feeling a little bit like they're sliding off the side of a cliff. And they're grabbing onto anything and everything, and their anxiety's up and their adrenaline's pumping, and they're really looking for just some semblance of stability that they can grab onto. And your job as the leader is not to have all of the answers. No, because nobody has all of the answers. Your job is to serve as the strong rock or ledge that's jutting out of the side of that cliff that they can grab onto. And being stable for someone, or being the stability for someone, doesn't necessarily mean you have all of the answers. Being the non-anxious presence doesn't necessarily mean that you have all the answers. It means you have the ability to self-reflect in the midst of anxiety. Because when anxiety is heightened, Bowen tells us that people lose the ability to self-reflect. They lose the ability to really create relatable identity with others. And what it's basically doing is people are shutting off what makes them human. So people abandon principles, they abandon beliefs, they abandon values, and they really revert to like a survivalist mentality, where it's, I'm going to get mine, or there's a high threat, and so I'm going to try and figure out how I can make sure that I am taken care of in the midst of this, and I'm no longer thinking about anybody outside myself. Most people in highly anxious times lose the ability to think outside of themselves. And that's where the leader comes in. Because your job as the leader is to make sure that you have the ability to do just that. Now, when people lose principles, they lose beliefs, they lose their values, it's impossible for them to make logical decisions. It's just the way that our brains work. It's just you are triggered in that scenario, and you don't have the ability to be thoughtful, to be meaningful, and to think strategically in the midst of anxiety. And so your job as the leader is to serve as the person that is doing just that. Now, as I said earlier, your job is not to have all the answers. No, it's not. Your job is to listen to the people who work for you. Your job is not to devalue their fear or their anxiety. Anxiety can be healthy. It's what gets us up off of our ass. A lot of people think every time you hear the word anxiety, it's about something bad. Well, no. It gets us moving. It gets us going, and that's okay. It's when we allow anxiety to take over our thinking and shut off the human side, the left prefrontal cortex of our brain, which makes us human, right? Shutting that off. That's when anxiety becomes something bad. But your job is, as I said on the video earlier, talking about hiring somebody for the first time, is your job is to provide structure for the people that are relying on you to create stability. Because structure corrals anxiety. It goes, hey, let's get this under wraps here. And we're going to do that by having very clear-cut instructions. So think about it. If you're in the shoes of your employees and this happens and they hear there's a shutdown, well, where am I working from? What's expected of me? Are we going to the office? Are we shutting down? Are we not shutting down? Like, the world is shaken. And so your job is to provide as much structure for your team as possible to make sure that they understand what they should be doing. And your job is also to listen to fears and to not paint with a broad brush in terms of how you deal with this. Because there may be somebody that works for you that's at risk with some of the things that we're dealing with the coronavirus, and then there's other people that may not be. Well, coaching both of those people or helping them reduce their anxiety probably isn't going to be done the same way. So don't have lazy leadership in this moment where you tend to think about yourself and then you paint with a broad brush and it ends up not being helpful to either person. Make sure that you're providing structure, make sure that you're not painting with a broad brush, and then make sure that you're taking the time for reflection for yourself. I've been hearing a lot of people say, like, well, this person wrote this book while they were quarantined from the plague. I think it was Shakespeare, right? Like, or this is when you should be grinding the most. Like, stop grinding. Seriously, stop it. Like, I know that's not cool entrepreneur talk, but stop it. No grinding. Reflect. How about just be bored? Literally, take an hour and just be bored, right? Like, if you're the leader, think about how you can gather yourself and get yourself together, because you're going to be dealing with other people that probably haven't reflected and haven't taken that time. So take care of yourself in the midst of this. It's the old adage, right? Like, hey, put the mask on first before you put someone else. Like, the exact same thing is going on here. You as the leader need to make sure that you are taking the time and have the ability to represent that non-anxious presence in an anxious system. I wanted to encourage you to do that. Take the time to do that. Understand what's required of you and step into your role as a leader. It's days like these that leadership is earned. And we're going to witness people in leadership roles and see how they respond. Everything right now we're witnessing is people's response to heightened anxiety. And it's the people that are calm, cool, collected, thoughtful, and strategic in the midst of that anxiety that end up separating themselves as the leaders, and they end up being the ones that people look to for stability. Be one of those people.